Are you looking for the best laptops? In this video we will look at some of the 7 best laptops on the market. Before we get started with our video, we have included links in the description, so make sure you check those out to see which one is in your budget range. Starting at number 1. Apple MacBook Pro 14. The best laptop we've tested is the M4 Apple MacBook Pro 14. This premium workstation has plenty of processing power to tackle nearly anything you throw at it. The build quality is second to none, plus, its compact design and all-day battery life make it great for on-the-go use. The overall user experience is amazing. You get a sharp 120Hz mini LED display that's well suited for color-critical work, a spacious keyboard, an easy-to-use touchpad, and tons of ports for peripherals and external displays. Upgrades over its M3 predecessor include higher display brightness when viewing SDR content, up to 1000 candelas per square meter outdoors, a nanotexture display option that further cuts glare, Thunderbolt 5 support, M4 Pro and Max models, and a new 12MP webcam with Apple's Center Stage feature. The Apple MacBook Pro 16 is also a good choice if you need more screen space and don't mind paying more. It's the same device but with better sounding speakers. On the Windows side, we recommend the Lenovo ThinkPad P1 Gen 7, also a premium workstation laptop that can handle intensive workloads. It has a large 16-inch display for multitasking, Lenovo's beloved keyboard and trackpoint, a haptic touchpad, and an excellent 1440p webcam. While its Intel Meteor Lake processors won't give you as much CPU processing power as a maxed-out MacBook Pro, you can get more raw GPU performance if you go with one of the higher-end GPUs, like the NVIDIA RTX 80 Generation 3000 or RTX 4070. As for the RAM, you can only get up to 64GB, user upgradable to 96GB, whereas the MacBook Pro is configurable with up to 128GB. Unfortunately, it gets hotter and louder under load, and none of the available displays get as bright as the MacBook Pro's mini LED panel. At number 2. Apple MacBook Air 13. If you only need a laptop for light productivity and media consumption, get the Apple MacBook Air 13. This 13.6-inch model is thin and lightweight, making it easy to carry around, and like most MacBooks, it feels incredibly well built, sporting a full aluminum chassis. Working on this laptop feels amazing. It has a sharp, bright IPS display, a spacious keyboard, and a gigantic haptic touchpad. Apple's base M3 SoC can easily handle light productivity tasks and even some light video editing and 3D graphics. Plus, it's remarkably power efficient, resulting in 11 to 12 hours of battery life. Port selection is limited, as it only has 2 USB-C/Thunderbolt 3 ports, and while it can output to 2 external displays, which is an improvement over its M2 predecessor, it can only do so with the lid closed. A Windows alternative to the MacBook Air is the Microsoft Surface Laptop 7th Edition 15, which is also an ultra-portable. It has a brighter 120Hz touchscreen, a more comfortable keyboard, a wider port selection, and Wi-Fi 7 wireless connectivity. This model is quite different from its predecessors, as it now sports an ARM-based SoC. The Snapdragon X Elite chip is plenty fast for general productivity tasks, and its incredible power efficiency results in an incredible 17-hour battery life in light uses. The downside is that some apps might not run at all or perform poorly through emulation, so it's best to check that the apps you use run well enough to get your work done. The 15-inch Surface laptop is more expensive than the MacBook Air 13. If budget is a concern, check out the 13-inch Surface laptop, which we haven't tested but expect to be very similar. At number 3. Acer Swift Go 14. Our mid-range pick is the Acer Swift Go 14, 2024. This compact and lightweight ultra-portable is a solid option if you want something cheaper that still provides a good user experience overall. It feels sturdily built for the price, exhibiting only a small amount of flex on the lid and keyboard deck. You get a spacious, albeit slightly mushy keyboard, a large and responsive touchpad, Wi-Fi 6E, a great 1080p webcam, and a wide port selection that includes 2 Thunderbolt 4s and an HDMI. The battery lasts around 11 hours of light use, and you can charge it via USB-C, so there's no need to carry around a proprietary charger. This model features Intel's Meteor Lake CPUs, which are powerful enough to handle tasks like text processing, web browsing, spreadsheets, and presentations, as well as more demanding workloads like programming and simulation. You can get up to 32 GB of RAM and 2 TB of storage, only the latter is user replaceable, so ensure you get enough RAM for your needs up front. Display options include an FHD plus IPS and a 2.8K OLED panel. Both look sharp and get bright enough for use in most indoor settings, but remember that the OLED is susceptible to permanent burn-in and will drain the battery faster. Also, unlike the IPS panel, the OLED flickers, which might bother people sensitive to screen flickering. At number 4. ASUS Vivobook 16M1605. The best budget laptop we've tested is the ASUS Vivobook 16M1605, 2023. The 16-inch ultra-portable feels well built for the price, and it isn't overly bulky for a 16-inch device, so it's still easy to carry around. You can configure it with an AMD Ryzen 5 or Ryzen 7 CPU, which are more than adequate to handle productivity tasks like text processing, web browsing, spreadsheets, and video playback. As for the RAM, it has 8 GB soldered onto the motherboard and a SODIMM slot, so if you can't find a model with 16 GB, you can always get an 8 GB model and upgrade it yourself, which might be cheaper since RAM sticks are pretty affordable these days. Its battery life is okay at around 8 hours of light use, so depending on your workload, you may have to plug it in for a quick charge. This model delivers a pretty good user experience overall. It has a spacious full-size keyboard with a numpad, which is handy for those working with lots of numbers, as well as a large and responsive touchpad. You get Wi-Fi 6E wireless connectivity, a fingerprint sensor for quick logins, and a decent port selection with 3 USB-As, a USB-C, and an HDMI. Unfortunately, the USB-C doesn't support video output, so you'll have to rely on the HDMI to connect an external display. Our main gripe with this laptop is the display. Its 1080p resolution looks reasonably sharp at this screen size, however, it's quite dim, so visibility may be an issue in well-lit rooms. It also looks a bit washed out due to its narrow color gamut. At number 5. Microsoft Surface Pro 11th Edition. If you like 2-in-1 tablet PCs with a detachable keyboard, check out the Microsoft Surface Pro 11th Edition, 2024. This new model's external design doesn't stray far from its predecessors. It's still a premium-feeling tablet with a sturdy, built-in kickstand, a comfortable, Alcantara-covered type cover keyboard, and pen input support. The new Flex keyboard has a larger, easier-to-use haptic touchpad, and it's Bluetooth-enabled, so you can use the keyboard even when detached from the tablet, giving you more flexibility to position the device to your liking. You get Wi-Fi 7 wireless connectivity, an outstanding 1440p front-facing webcam, a 10MP back-facing camera, and Windows Hello facial recognition for quick logins. Unfortunately, like the last Surface Pro, its port selection is limited to 2 USB-Cs, and you must buy the keyboard and stylus separately. Like the Microsoft Surface Laptop 7th Edition 15, 2024, mentioned above, this device has a Snapdragon SoC, so make sure the apps you use are compatible or can run well enough through Microsoft's Prism emulation to get your work done. Its battery life isn't quite as impressive as the Surface Laptop at 11 to 12 hours of light use, though it's still pretty respectable for a thin tablet PC. Regarding the display, it's important to note that the Snapdragon X Plus model comes with an IPS panel, while the X Elite model comes with an OLED panel. The OLED display will give you deeper blacks, however, it exhibits what's commonly known as the screen door effect, meaning the digitizer is visible, creating a grid-like pattern that some may find distracting. If this bothers you, it's best to go with the X Plus model, though you'll have to sacrifice a bit on performance. At number 6. Razer Blade 18. The best gaming laptop we've tested is the Razer Blade 18, 2024. This high-end 18-inch model has an all-aluminum chassis that feels incredibly sturdy. It sports a spacious and tactile keyboard with per-key RGB backlighting and tons of ports for peripherals and external displays, including 3 USB-As, 2 USB-Cs, one with Thunderbolt 4.5 support, an HDMI 2.1, and a 2.5 gigabits per second Ethernet port. If you aren't close enough to your router for a wired connection, don't worry, there's Wi-Fi 7 on board to ensure a fast and reliable internet connection when gaming online. The Blade 18 has a single CPU option, the top-end Intel Core i9-14900HX, which you can pair with an NVIDIA GeForce RTX 4070, 4080, or 4090 laptop GPU. Every configuration can deliver a smooth gaming experience in the most demanding titles. There are two display options, a 300Hz QHD plus mini LED and a 200Hz 4K plus IPS panel, so you can choose whether you want better input responsiveness and smoother motion or a sharper image. Both displays have a fast response time and GSINC support, resulting in minimal ghosting and screen tearing. Unfortunately, the fans get incredibly loud, reaching 57.0 dBA at their full speed. Battery life is also bad, lasting only an hour or so when gaming, so you'll want to keep the charger close by. At number 7. MSI Katana A15 AI. For gamers on a tighter budget, we recommend the MSI Katana A15 AI 2024. This is a fairly standard, no-fuss model that delivers a pretty solid gaming experience at a wallet-friendly price. Configurable with up to an AMD Ryzen 9 8945HS CPU and an NVIDIA GeForce RTX 4070 laptop GPU, it has no problem pushing high, consistent frame rates in intensive AAA titles like Cyberpunk 2077. Display options include a 144Hz FHD and a 165Hz QHD panel. The latter will provide a better gaming experience thanks to its faster response time. It's also a better option for general media consumption, as media looks much more vibrant than on an FHD panel. There are always compromises on budget models, and in this case, it's the build quality and overall user experience. This 15-inch model has a plastic chassis that exhibits a fair amount of flex in a few areas, which isn't a deal breaker but doesn't exactly give users confidence in the overall quality of the laptop. Also, the hinges feel a bit loose, which can be worrisome since most people will open and close the laptop regularly. Another complaint is that it gets fairly hot and loud under load, with a hotspot right in the middle of the keyboard. Also, the lack of an Ethernet port might be disappointing to online gamers. There's Wi-Fi 6E on board, though you'll have to ensure that your router also supports the same standard or Wi-Fi 7.